Hey there, and welcome back to Discover What You Were Born to Do. I'm so glad you're here with me again. I love being able to help you find work that is a natural fit for you. But what's most satisfying for me is helping you understand your entire makeup so you can have a fulfilling career for the rest of your life. Because economies change, sometimes our desires change, but when you really know who you are and what you care about in life, you can navigate life's changes and feel confident you are on the right path. This week, we're going to talk about your innate strengths, the strengths you were born with. Getting clear about what comes naturally to you will help you choose the type of work that makes the most impact in the world with the least amount of effort on your part, and find the work that is most fun and most meaningful for you. Identifying these strengths in yourself is foundational to discovering what you were born to do, and it's one of my most favorite topics. Helping people realize and tap into their strengths, the strengths they were given at birth, the strengths that don't go away, is part of the way I want to change the world. So, this is a deeply fulfilling week for me, and I know it will be for you too. To start, let's take a look at our roadmap and review what we've done so far and where we're going. Remember, to find work that matters to you, you need to know three things. The first is who you are. The second is how to make decisions that are aligned with who you are. And the third is what you want. And here's where we are on our roadmap. Last week, we covered the first part of who you are, your affective strengths, your preferences and values. Today, we'll talk about the second part, your innate strengths, your instinctive drive to take action. Next week, we'll talk about the third part of who you are, your learned strengths and the knowledge and skills you've acquired so far in your life. And in week 4, we'll put it all together to look at your core strengths. We'll take a look at the patterns and trends that reveal where these three areas of who you are overlap to create your ultimate career strengths. What's interesting is that this area of overlap is unique to you. It's why cookie cutter advice may not have worked for you in the past. And I don't just say you're unique to make you feel better or to coddle you. It's because it's the truth. Even if someone has the exact same education, they won't have the same preferences and values. They won't have the same exact natural strengths, and they won't have the same lived experience. And when we look at you as a whole person, there's no one who has your set of ability, experience, and desires. And there's no one who can change the world in quite the way you can. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment and check in with that part of your mind that's keeping you safe and alive, that part of your mind that's constantly on the outlook for threats. Take a moment and think about if your survival instincts have been showing up in your daily life this last week. Maybe you notice that you've been getting distracted or feeling a little grumpy. It could even be resistance to showing up to this course. All of these things, resistance, distraction, irritation, they're actually common reactions to change, and it's totally okay. At this early point in the course, you may not be conscious of the effects of your survival instincts because they might be subtle right now. But now is the best time to start practicing this check-in with yourself so you can catch resistance early. This way, it won't surprise you or turn into something bigger later on. I want you to feel like you can move forward with this information, but not be totally overwhelmed. Overwhelm is a signal that there is too much change going on at once. In organizations, this is formally called change saturation, and it can create a backlash or the one step forward, two steps back that sometimes we all experience. It's an inborn protective mechanism that we have to keep us safe. Doing more isn't the answer, and doing too much at once is actually counterproductive for your personal growth. You want to be on your edge of growth capacity, but not past it. We're going to step into the breathing exercise next, and when we do, I want you to check in with your body and take stock of where you are in regard to change and overwhelm. Decide for yourself if this is an appropriate amount of new information and change for you, or do you need to slow it down a bit? Wherever you are, bring your awareness into your body. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths. Now go ahead and even out your inhale and your exhale. Nothing extreme. This should feel natural in your body. As you even out your inhale and your exhale, I want you to notice that breathing is a physical and biological function. Notice that your body breathes, whether you consciously direct it or not. If you lose track of your breath, your body will take over and breathe for you. As your breath becomes even and as you're ready, go ahead and elongate your exhale. Again, nothing extreme, just a little bit longer than your inhale. This elongated exhale is a breath pattern that sends a message to your nervous system that it's safe to relax, and it's one way you can self-regulate and consciously become calm. I'm going to hold you here for 1 minute to practice, but listen to your body and stick with the pattern only as long as it's comfortable for you. You'll hear music in the background so you know I'm here, and at the end of 1 minute, I'll let you know. You can let go of the breathing pattern and come back into a regular breath. Now that you're in a more relaxed state, I want us to imagine together your ideal workday. As you're waking up for the day and just before you open your eyes, notice that you have a memory of how effortless your work was yesterday, how it just flowed and it seemed as natural and as automatic as breathing. As you lay there and revel in the sensation of ease, you think about the day ahead and you feel excited. Your work is being appreciated and it's well respected. It's even fun. This excitement you feel is a natural energy that automatically propels you out of bed. As you get ready for your day, you briefly remember how stressful your jobs used to be, how you wouldn't sleep and you were just making it through the day and somehow to the weekend, week after week after week. As you remember the past, you feel a deep sense of satisfaction come over you at the changes you've been able to make in your work life. Moving through this day, you also feel a sense of calm and satisfaction. You aren't spinning your wheels like you used to, and the effort you put in comes back tenfold. Work no longer drains your energy, you actually get energy from the work you do. As you end your workday, you notice that you're excited and thinking about what you get to do next. You don't just flop down on the couch in exhaustion anymore. You feel energized and ready to take on a new adventure or a new project after work. As the day winds down and you crawl back into bed, you revel in that same sense of satisfaction you woke up with. You smile at how effortless your work feels. You close your eyes and sink into that feeling of satisfaction and ease as you drift off to sleep. Great. As you open your eyes and come back into the present day, notice how your body feels just thinking about an ideal day. Notice if it improves your mood or if it shifts anything for you. If not, that's totally fine. There is no right or wrong way to do this. The reason we spend time imagining an ideal workday is to train your brain to focus on what you want instead of looking for problems. It doesn't ignore the problems that are there, but it just helps refocus your mind to help you move forward. And I hope it helps you begin to envision your future each time we do this. So let's dig into the main topic for today. We talked last week about the school of thought that says work should be arduous. You get paid for things because they're miserable to do. Nobody wants to do it, and that's why people pay you for it. This philosophy also says the more money you make, the worse you can expect the work will be. Although this is what most people are taught, the reasoning is illogical. If we applied this type of thinking to basketball, then I should be a very well-paid professional basketball player. I am short, I'm not terribly well coordinated. If the more arduous the work is, the more money I should make logic holds true, then I should make a ton of money playing basketball because I would have to work 100 times harder than any other player I know. It would be miserable for me. But that's ridiculous, isn't it? No one would hire me to play basketball because I'm not suited for it. Sports teams are actually very good at drafting players with natural talent. They want players who are natural athletes, who love the sport and are highly trained in their position, because it's logical. The players with natural talent who like the game are more likely to excel in their field and stay in the game for a long time. It's win-win. And professional athletes still need to do the work and practice their skill, but it's an appropriate amount of effort. Because they have a natural talent, a desire, and training, the work aspect is in balance. This is the type of logic we want to apply to all fields of work. We first want to find what you're talented at, which is this week's topic, and what you like, last week's topic. You want to look for work you're naturally talented at, that you like to do, and that you're trained for. That's the ultimate trifecta. But standard career advice usually only focuses on what you're trained for, and it largely ignores your natural talents and preferences. This leaves most of your potential and brilliance undiscovered and unused. When you find work that comes naturally to you, you'll spend less energy getting it done, and you'll spend less energy mastering that work. You'll have better results, and you'll be able to do it for longer periods of time than something that doesn't come naturally to you. When I say comes naturally, most people identify with work that's easy because they've been trained to do it. I'm talking about a feeling of effortlessness that is far easier than that. Your innate strengths feel natural to you. They're so natural, you probably don't realize you're using them most of the time. We often say it's as easy as breathing. And let's actually look at that example. Even though we don't get paid to breathe, it's a good example of how easy work that's based in our innate strengths can feel. I want you to think about how much energy you spend each day calculating and regulating your breath. Unless you have a medical condition, you probably don't spend much time calculating your inhale to exhale ratios at all. It just happens. This is the level of ease I'm talking about when I say work that comes naturally to you. Using your innate strengths as a foundation to build your career on is how you have a lifelong fulfillment without burning out over and over. This is how you tap into your natural genius. And doing work that comes naturally to you is the best career engineering I can think of. We strive for efficiency and streamlining in our companies and our systems, so why wouldn't we want to do the same with ourselves? Why wouldn't we want every person to be working to their full potential, not just for efficiency, but also for higher levels of happiness, satisfaction, and quality of life? The tricky thing about natural strengths is that you usually don't realize you have them. They come so naturally to you that you think they're normal and that everyone has the same abilities you do, so you don't think they're worth getting paid for, which is not true. They're tough to see clearly because you didn't learn it or ever have to practice it. Your natural strengths happen at an unconscious level. Whether you're aware of it or not, your unconscious drives the majority of your behaviors. In fact, 90 to 95% of your decisions are shaped or influenced at the unconscious or instinctive level. That means our instincts are by far the largest driver of our behavior. And when we learn to harness them, we can tap into the most reliable and most powerful part of us. Here's a clip from Stanford University professor Baba Shiv, where he talks about the neural influences that affect our decisions.
Most of our decisions, whether we like it or not, most of our actions, most of our behavior, most of our experiences are constantly being shaped at the instinctual level. I would argue that about 90 to 95% of our decisions, even important decisions, you might think that you're being rational, but keep in mind that if you pit the rational brain against the emotional brain, in general, it is the emotional brain that is going to win out. In fact, I have this quote out there which says that the rational brain it's not good at being rational. What it is good at is simply rationalize what the emotional brain has already decided to do. And therefore, it behooves us to understand the workings of the instinctual, the emotional brain.
If you could harness something that influenced 90 to 95% of your success, would you do it? I know I would. This is such a powerful force within us. To experience the power of your instincts, think about how long you can go without breathing. You can hold your breath for several minutes, more if you practice, and even a little longer underwater because of your natural diving reflex, which is also innate. But eventually, your unconscious mind will take over and force you to breathe, with or without your permission. Now take the fact that your instincts can force a behavior and add that to the speed at which your unconscious mind works. Scientific studies show that the unconscious brain can process 11 million bits of information per second compared to the conscious brain, which can only handle 40 bits per second. Again, that's 11 million versus 40. The difference is so profound that you can't adequately see it on a chart, and it's hard to wrap our heads around this massive difference in speed. What that means is not only is your unconscious mind the most powerful force within you, it's by far the fastest. I'm spending a lot of time on this point because when you're able to build your career on your most natural strengths, you're able to tap into this power and speed. It will surpass anything you can learn to do or make yourself do through willpower. Willpower is the flimsiest and most unreliable energy we have. Your instincts are something you can rely on day in and day out. I also recommend factoring your instincts into your career because this part of your mind doesn't change over your lifetime. What we learn comes and goes, right? You use it or you lose it. We know this from experience. And your desires and values also naturally change over your lifetime. You may not value the same things when you were 10 years old that you do when you're 50. And that's the way we're designed. Building your career on the basis of your instinct is more like the stability of your eye color or your height. Grounding your career in your hardwired programming allows you to plan more accurately for the long term and predict your success in any given career more reliably. As a side note, I try my best to center my work in the perspective that our unconscious mind and our instincts are assets working in our favor. They keep us alive, so we don't want to fight against our nature. We want to work with it and harness it. Even when I say our biology and nature can hold us back, it's only because of our lack of understanding and misuse of our instincts, not the instincts themselves. Often, when our instincts are giving us a lot of pushback, we're making changes a little too fast for us to feel an instinctive sense of safety. One way to gain conscious awareness of your innate strengths is through an assessment called the Kolbe-A Index. You should have received an email with an invitation to take the Kolbe-A. If you haven't received it yet, please check your spam folder, and if it's not in there, let us know so we can get it to you. Whether you take the assessment before or after you listen to this is up to you and your natural style. But your code will expire 90 days from when you purchased the course, so you don't want to put it off for too long. We'll spend time today delving into this assessment because having clarity and language around your natural strengths will help you communicate them to others, which is not only super handy in an interview or a sales call, it can also help you make informed decisions that move your career from average to extraordinary. It can be the difference between begging for a position and being sought after. This assessment also captures natural abilities that academic tests, personality assessments, and other exams may not show. If you've ever felt that traditional exams and methods of measuring intelligence haven't accurately represented your true intelligence and abilities, this assessment measures a different aspect than most standard tests. The Kolbe Index is entirely different from traditional testing because it measures your instinct for taking action or your conative instinct. And this assessment only measures your strengths. And because of that, you can't fail at it because everyone has an equal amount of conative instinct. What it reveals is how that instinct and talent is expressed in you. The Kolbe-A Index was developed by Kathy Kolbe, a pioneer in the field of conative instincts. As a child, she observed her father, Eldon Wunderlich, as he researched and developed the Wunderlich Personnel Test, a cognitive test originally used by large corporations and the armed forces, and is still used today by the National Football League and some government offices. Kathy was dissatisfied with the results of the Wunderlich and felt driven to better understand human potential in a way that could help people achieve their goals. So she began her own research company in 1975 and developed the first conative assessment. What makes the Kolbe-A different from personality assessments is that it measures conation, or the innate way you take action. Conation, yes, that's how it's pronounced, is the formal term for the striving or volitional instinct. It's how you naturally solve problems or how you do things versus how you feel about something or how you think through something. Because much of our work life involves taking action, this instinct is at the heart of everything we do that's work-related. When you align the work you do with the way you naturally take action, completing tasks and projects will be much easier and can even feel effortless. Knowing about the different conative types can also help you understand other people better and help reduce conflict in the workplace. I found that just realizing people naturally do things differently makes things a lot less personal. You realize that people aren't doing things just to annoy you or to undermine you, or because they're lazy, but because they have a different natural way of approaching their work. Another important distinction between this and other assessments commonly used in business and organizations is that the Kolbe-A has a very high test-retest rate, which is rare for personal assessments. A test-retest rate measures the reliability of any assessment. That means if you take it now and in 20 years, your results will be very much the same. One study done in 2006 showed that 92 to 97% of Kolbe-A index results remained consistent over time, even after being retaken 10 to 15 years later. What this means is that you don't need to keep taking it every few years, and you can really plan your future based on the results with confidence. I know this probably sounds like a sales pitch, and I don't mean it like that. My point is to impress upon you the wisdom of basing your career on the fixed, instinctive aspect of you. I talk a lot about it because most of us have spent 20 years or more in a culture and education system that emphasizes choosing a career based on our degree, what we've learned in school, or our salary. Few of us have ever considered centering our work around what we are naturally good at. And that's because, as I said in the beginning, most of us were taught to assume that work is naturally stressful and hard, and the best we can do is look for jobs we can do reasonably well, or at least that pay well enough to offset the misery of working. The Colby A will help you determine work that's not only far less stressful day to day, but will also help you to know what work you're more likely to excel in and be able to sustain long term because it's natural to you. Another aspect that's important to know is that the Colby A shows no statistical bias based on race, national origin, gender, age, or disability, and it meets all the criteria of the EEOC guidelines here in the US. So it's not like other IQ tests or other common personality assessments that can be skewed by factors such as access to resources, formal education, or other cultural or economic conditions. As I said before, if you've had a bad history with exams or personality assessments, I encourage you to give this one a try. If you'd like to dig into the research and learn more before you take it, I've left footnotes with links in the transcript for this week. You can download the transcript wherever you're watching this video. So let's dig into how your natural strengths show up for you. If you've already taken the assessment, go ahead and pull up your results. First, remember that the Colby A only focuses on your strengths. So the numbers in your result don't indicate strengths and weaknesses, only strengths. So a 1 isn't better or worse than a 10, it's just different. The numbers are only there to help us differentiate where you land on the matrix. This really tripped me up when I got my results because I looked at my 2s and 3s and I thought it meant I was weak in those areas, when in reality, it actually revealed strengths I didn't even realize I had. Second, since this measures your instinct, you'll likely experience your Colby strengths as a physical sensation. You may notice physical reactions when you're aligned with your strengths and when you aren't. It's less of a mental evaluation and more of a natural reaction that you don't logically control. Because instincts developed before we had language, they are physically felt and expressed. When you're working against your natural strengths, you may feel frustrated, repulsed, or stuck. And you may feel this in your body. You may clench your jaw, or you might find your shoulders creeping up towards your ears. When you're aligned with your instincts, you may feel more energized or something like lightness or ease in your body. As we go through this, I invite you to pay attention to how these reactions show up in your physical body. And if you don't notice anything, that's totally fine too. Last, and you'll hear me say this a lot, the Colby doesn't tell you what you can and cannot do. It tells you how you naturally take action. It will give you a measure of how much energy a task or type of work will take you. While some jobs may lean more toward one Colby type or another, it doesn't mean you can't have your dream job just because it doesn't quote-unquote match up with your Colby. Your score will give you important information so you can make an informed decision. With this information, you can now assess how much energy you're going to spend doing that job and then decide if it's ultimately worth it to you. The Colby is based on 12 ways of taking action, or 12 strengths, and we're going to go through them one by one. For my high-performance folks out there, I want you to note that you only have 4 areas of strength, not 12, and it's not possible to have all 12 strengths. Your result also doesn't reveal areas where you need to do more work. It reveals where you should focus your energy and where you can be excellent. When you're able to let go of needing to be perfect in all things and having all the strengths, you will unlock the key to where you can be great. As a recovering overachiever myself, I know this takes effort, but it's worth it. So as best you can, spend your time focusing on your strengths and not showing up your weaknesses or trying to be the best at everything. When we break down the matrix, you'll see there are 4 action modes. These are the vertical bars. And within those vertical bars, there are 3 horizontal zones of operation, indicated by the brackets on the left. Let's explore the zones of operation within the 4 action modes. The red bar indicates your fact finder mode. This is how you gather and share information. Everyone has a way they naturally gather and share information. So people in the initiation zone, those with a 7 through 10 in fact finder, have the gift of detail. They need specific information to start a project, and they're compelled to be specific and accurate when they share information. People in the counteract or resistant mode, the 1 through 3 in FactFinder, have the gift of simplicity and getting to the bottom line. They will be compelled to simplify the information they receive and give concise information such as bullet points. People in the react zone are in the middle. The 456 FactFinder has the gift of explaining. They can translate highly specific details into bullet points without too much effort. They will need more information than folks in the 1 through 3 zone to get started on a task, but less than the 7 through 10 people. The blue bar indicates your follow-through mode. This is a bit of a misnomer because it indicates how you organize information and objects. It doesn't indicate your ability to follow through on your promises. That has to do with your values and your character. What it shows is your relationship to systems and planning. Again, everyone has a natural way they organize information and objects, and your follow-through number tells you what that strength is. People in the initiation zone, 7 through 10, have the gift of creating systems. They need to create a plan or a system before they start taking action, and they're naturally systematic in their approach to work. People in the counteract 1 through 3 or the resistant zone have the gift of adaptation. They can take an existing system and make it work for the current situation. They're compelled to streamline operations, offer hacks and workarounds to overly complicated systems, and they can come up with several alternative plans. People in the react zone, the 456, have the gift of maintaining a system. They will find an existing system and follow it, and because they're in the middle, they can create a system or adopt one without too much stress, but their preference is to use what exists and follow the existing plan. The green bar indicates your quick start mode. This is how you handle risk and uncertainty. I don't think it's a surprise that we all have a different relationship to risk and uncertainty, but this may help you let go of some of your biases about how people operate. People in the initiation zone of 7 through 10 have the gift of innovation, of ideas and initiating change. They need to know all of their options and experiment a little bit before they begin a project. They can easily switch gears, create a sense of urgency, and brainstorm ideas. People in the counteract or resistant zone 1 through 3 have the gift of stability. They will naturally strive for dependability, reliability, and they'll ensure the efforts they put in have enduring results. People in the react zone 4 through 6 have the gift of modification. They can react to an urgent change and come up with ideas without a lot of stress, and they can easily create stability when needed. The yellow bar indicates your implementer mode. This is how you handle physical space and tangibles. It doesn't show how you implement a project or an idea. It shows your gift for handling the physical world, how you naturally deal with physical objects like tools and musical instruments, or how you relate to distance and space. People in the initiation zone 7 through 10 have the gift of demonstration. They need to be hands-on and physically see what they're going to work on in person, or at least have a physical model before they can take action. They can naturally estimate volume and distance, and they'll be compelled to physically show how something is done, or take you to the place that it's happening. People in the counteract or resistant zone 1 through 3 have the gift of envisioning the physical world in their mind. They don't need to be hands-on to take action, and they can operate virtually and easily work with abstract concepts. People in the react zone 4 through 6 have the gift of restoring the physical world. They have a natural ability to work with what they have to fix a problem. They can work hands-on if necessary, or imagine the virtual world if that's more applicable. If your result came up in transition and you had stars in place of numbers, I want you to email me directly. This is a special type of result, and I've created some resources especially for you. Another way to think about what the Kolbe measures is through the lens of a working animal. If you've ever been around huskies or sled dogs, you know that they are built to run. You can train a sled dog to stick around and retrieve or sit still, but it will take great patience and dedication on your part. A husky's genius, what they're built for, is running long distance across the Arctic. If you want them to run, that's effortless for them. They do it naturally and with joy. If you need them to sit still for any length of time, pray help you. They can do it, but it will be inconsistent, unreliable, and it will take a lot of effort for them and a strong desire on your part. Owners who really want a companion dog but get a sled dog because they think they're cute are sorely disappointed. Huskies are born to run, and forcing them to be something they aren't isn't fair and ends in misery and exhaustion. The same is true for you. When you're working against your natural abilities, you'll experience that same exhaustion and frustration. But when you're in line with what you were born to do, you'll do it with ease. One thing I want to emphasize is that your strengths are also your needs. Because your natural way of taking action happens at the instinctive level, we classify it as a need and not a preference. Your natural way of taking action is just like your basic need for eating and sleeping. You can only go without it for so long before you feel the stress of working against your natural instinct. I also want to take a minute and talk about conative bias and how it might be showing up for you. If you're working within your natural strengths, you may not even realize that you're doing it. This effortlessness is great, but it can also translate into thinking that your talents or your way of doing things is innate for everyone, and it isn't. We all think that the way that we do things is the right way because we're hardwired for it. It feels so natural to us, it's difficult to imagine why someone else wouldn't do it the same way we do. In my own experience and my work with clients, the instinctive bias sounds a lot like this. Why do you do it that way? Isn't it obvious how to do this? Why do I have to spell it out for you? I can't believe you don't have a plan. You really need to get your ducks in a row. Why do you always miss details? You need to focus more and pay attention. Why would you pay somebody to fix that? Why won't you just do it yourself? It's just lazy. If you've ever had things like this said to you, know that they aren't fair or accurate criticisms. They were likely made by somebody who isn't aware of their own conative instincts and doesn't realize those things aren't innate for everyone. In work environments, especially where the work attracts a particular Colby type, this unconscious bias can sound like, the rest of us do it this way, why can't you? Depending on what the companies are looking for, companies can actually hurt their competitive advantage when they only hire people that, quote, fit the culture. Because what that often means is they want people who all do things the exact same way. Sometimes that makes sense, but often it creates blind spots and groupthink that can harm a company's long-term resilience. Different cultures can also form around conative bias. It can show up in families, at work, or in school. In the U.S. educational system, there's a high value and strong emphasis placed on being able to consume a lot of detailed information, being systematic, and doing things in a consistent, repeatable manner. So if those things don't come naturally to you, you may face challenges with the standard American school system. That's an unfair bias that continues throughout college and even into the research field. If you have children, it's worth figuring out their Colby results so you can set them up to succeed in school. I'm not saying that a particular Colby type is destined to succeed or fail, but if you know your child is a 7 through 10 implementer, you can assist them with abstract concepts by helping them build models. If you have a child who's a 7 through 10 quick start, you can help provide variety and challenge or even consider alternative education options that might work better for them. In regard to any bias, it's good that we check ourselves and how we judge each other. Conative bias is really damaging because it cuts at the heart of how someone gets things done in their life. Stifling someone's natural way of taking action stunts their ability to reach their full potential. When we recognize our own bias, we also have the opportunity to offer our gifts to others around us. We can ease the struggles and amplify the efforts of those we care about. There is a huge benefit in learning to coordinate your natural talents with the people you work and live with. It takes communication, respect, and humor to find your rhythm, but it's worth it. Because as nice as it may seem to have people who do things just like you, you're missing the benefit of the other 8 talents. When you have people with diverse Colby numbers, you increase your collective potential, which benefits everyone. So what does all this look like in action? I'll use my own result as an example. I'm a 3, 2, 10, 4. So I'm a 3 in fact finder, 2 in follow through, 10 in quick start, and 4 in implementer. So I have the gift of simplifying information, my 3 in fact finder, adapting systems, my 2 in follow through, innovation, my 10 in quick start, and restoration, my 4 in implementer. It's a good combination of strengths if there's a lot of chaos in a situation or a project, or the solution to a problem isn't obvious, or it's something that's never been done before. That's pretty much what I'm built for, and it takes me almost no effort. And I think it's really fun. Your Colby A report will show your four strengths. They'll be displayed in a column chart on the first and second pages of the report. And I've put examples of all the diagrams I mentioned in the transcript for reference. The Colby can also help you see how you move through your four strengths, because there's a predictable way that you take action. And once you know your natural flow, you can plan for it and use it to your advantage. As a 10 and quick start, I begin taking action by coming up with a lot of ideas, and I need to know all my options. I also need to experiment a little bit before I get going. After that, I'll need to physically get my hands on whatever I'm working with to see if the materials are durable and robust. Next, I need some basic information like 2 or 3 bullet points, and I'll feel compelled to get to the bottom line or the point. Last, I'll see if there's a system I can adapt or hack, or I might try to find a quick workaround to the problem at hand. Because I know this about myself, I can plan my work around it. I can also communicate this to the others around me. In the beginning of a project, thinking about a lot of options can be really frustrating for some people. But if they know that's my natural style of working and they know there's a point to it, it creates a lot less stress when working on a project together. You can find your own natural flow, also called your sense of time, in the Colby report. It's displayed as an arrow with 4 colors, and it's usually in the middle of the report. Another thing the Colby can tell you is how much natural energy you have in each mode, which can help you plan your day, your projects, and even help you understand what makes sense for you to delegate. Even though using your conative instincts feels effortless, you don't have infinite amount of conative energy. It's certainly more powerful and reliable than your learned skills, habits, or willpower, but it's not endless. The good news is it's a renewable energy, so if you're feeling tapped out or depleted, rest, sleep, and relaxation is how you fill your conative buckets back up. To give you an example, you can see from this pyramid chart in my Colby report that I have a large capacity for innovating, brainstorming, and experimenting. This is why I've designed most of my work to revolve around this strength. It's what I have the greatest capacity for. I have less natural energy available in my implementer, fact finder, and follow through modes, so I'm very conscious of protecting those energies. For example, if I need to gather some detailed information on a topic, because I know I won't be able to do it all day every day, I set aside time first thing in the morning when I'm most likely to be well rested. And when I feel my energy waning, I switch to another task. I don't force the issue because I've learned it's counterproductive. If a project needs a lot of information gathering, I need to chop it up into small segments, or if appropriate, I'll find a way to delegate it. The benefit of knowing this part of yourself is that it will help you plan your time and deadlines. You'll be less likely to overcommit or underestimate how long a task will take you. Your natural energy allocation is listed in your report. It's displayed in a pyramid in the middle of the report. Knowing this information can help you become more productive in a way that works for your natural wiring and can help you harness your potential. It can also help you see what strengths you should center your career around and what you might consider delegating. So, what does it look like when you're working in opposition to your conative strengths? Again, I'll use myself as an example. When I have to do work that's highly precise, systematic, and rigid, I can only perform well in that environment for a short period of time before I feel drained, frustrated, irritable, and distracted. Now, I've learned to be precise, systematic, and consistent because of the culture I was raised in, but it's not in my hardwired nature. It's a learned skill. So I can mask my true nature, but as soon as I drop my guard, my natural way of operating will come through, whether I want it to or not. I notice it most when I'm tired, sick, hungry, or in an emergency. When I was younger, I thought the resistance and frustration I felt was because I couldn't keep it together, or because something was wrong with me, or because I was lazy and I just needed to focus and work and study harder. Now I realize those frustrating feelings were a clear signal that I was working outside my natural strengths. These days, when I feel frustrated in my work, I use it as a sign that I need to make some adjustments so I can be more productive and happier. And I would urge you to do the same, because forcing yourself to constantly conform to something that isn't natural to you will wear you down and diminish your ability to do good work, feel satisfied, and make the biggest impact you can. This is true not just in your job, but in your relationships, your friends, and your daily life. It's never too late to lean into your innate strengths. Through the Colby A, I want to help you understand that who you are at your core isn't wrong. It may be in opposition to the culture you're working in or you're raised in, but it isn't inherently wrong. These are your innate gifts and a huge factor in helping you reveal not only what you were born to do, but also how you were born to do it. When you're able to use your strengths in your work, it stops feeling so miserable and it can even become more fun. And because it's fun, you're more likely to do it longer and get the recognition and rewards you deserve. I know it may be hard to see right now, but once you make the switch, you won't look back. Once you're on the other side, you'll get to answer the question, is it okay to be paid to do something that comes this easily? And the answer is yes. This week's exercises will help you explore your own personal Colby A numbers. Again, I have worksheets available as a guide if that works for you, but I'm not picky about how you capture your thoughts, just that you capture them somewhere so you can refer to them in future weeks. Let's look at exercise number 1. This is a simple one. Just grab your Colby A report and write down your strengths. Write down your fact finder strength, your follow through strength, your quick start strength, and your implementer strength. In exercise 2, I want you to notice what your initial reaction was to your result. Looking at your Colby report, how did you react when you received your result? Were you happy with the result or did you feel frustrated? Were there any stories you told yourself? In particular, I want you to notice if you saw the 1 through 3 results as weaknesses. Remember, every number in the Colby matrix reveals a strength. In exercise 3, we'll look at where you use your innate strengths right now. First, what are examples of where you use your fact finder strength? Second, where do you use your follow through strength? Third, what are examples of where you use your quick start strength? And 4, in what instances do you use your implementer strength? Exercise 4 is called story versus truth. Many times our minds will create a story about our abilities. Or maybe you had caregivers or teachers who had a story about your talents, or maybe what they perceived as a lack of talent. I want you to investigate any stories that you accepted as truth when you were younger. The Colby can help you distinguish between those stories you've been told and your true talents. First, list any beliefs, positive or negative, that you have about your fact finder strength. Given what you see in your Colby report, how do your beliefs match up with your report? Now look at your follow through strength. Given what you see in your Colby report, how do your beliefs match up with your report? Third, what about your quick start strength? Given what you see in your Colby report, how do your beliefs match up with your report? 4, list the beliefs that you have about your implementer strength. Given what you see in your Colby report, how do your beliefs match up with your report? 5th, I want you to look at how you flow through your strength, the sense of time arrow. Are there any stories or beliefs that you hold about the order in which you solve problems? Maybe you think your way is the right way and everybody should do it like you. Or maybe you think your way is flawed and you need to change it, or maybe it's something else. And notice if your beliefs are reflected in your arrow. Now look at your energy, the pyramid diagram. Are there any stories or beliefs you hold about how much energy you have to spend in each mode? Do you wish you had more energy in a given mode? Or maybe you've been told that you should have more energy in a certain mode. After you've written down your stories, notice what's actually reflected in your energy pyramid. In exercise 5, I want you to list 4 instances where you felt that you performed at your highest potential. These don't need to be work-related or paid jobs, just something where you felt in the flow, where the work felt natural to you and you felt like you were doing it well. Now take a look at your Colby report and see if there's a correlation. Often our favorite jobs had aspects that highlighted or amplified our natural strengths. If this was true for you, list those natural strengths. Exercise 6 asks the question, what would you do if you had more energy? The energy required for us to work against our natural instincts is significant. Remember, 90 to 95% of our behavior is driven by our instincts. Overriding our natural drive takes an immense amount of energy. I want you to take a few minutes and think about what you might accomplish in your lifetime if you had 50% more energy left over at the end of the day. Know that this isn't meant to blame you, but just open your eyes to the possibilities that may be in front of you. The last exercise, exercise 7, is to pick one change. The Colby can be revolutionary. It can also feel overwhelming in the beginning. I know it's a lot of information for some people, and when anything feels overwhelming, a good strategy is to slow it down or break it down into smaller steps. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all the information so far, choose just one area to work on. First, what's the easiest areas to make changes in your work? Is it using your fact finder, follow through, quick start, or implementer strength? Second, what's a small change that you could make to align one of your Colby strengths with your work? Third, think about the easiest way to make that little tweak. And four, just for fun, think about a way you could make that change even easier. Break it down into the very smallest step that you can imagine. The reason I want you to choose one change and make it really tiny is so that it actually happens and you start gaining momentum. I want you to start transitioning from just knowing your strengths to actually using your strengths. As usual, there are a few common mind traps I've noticed when clients are working in this area. Remember, these mindsets aren't excuses, but rather ways your brain might be trying to preserve energy and keep you alive. Your body and mind is always doing its best to conserve your resources, but it's up to you to lead your mind and decide if the shortcut serves you well or not. Mind trap number 1 is my Colby score means I'm restricted from my dreams. Remember, our mind will use anything it can to find and convince us to stay in homeostasis, and your Colby result is no exception. If you're like me and you notice yourself saying this or thinking this, see if you can slow down that train of thought. Can you counter it with facts like the Colby doesn't tell me what I can and can't do, only how much energy it's going to take me? Or maybe you can distract yourself and just think about dinner or fluffy bunnies. Any method that stops this train of thought is a win for you. Anytime you notice this thought arise, do whatever you can to stop it. Mind trap number 2 is my Colby means I'm not accountable for my behavior. Now, I am all for letting people off the hook for circumstances they aren't responsible for. I think it's a waste of human creativity to blame people for things they can't control. But this is not one of those times. Again, the Colby doesn't tell you what you can or can't be responsible for, but how you're going to do it and how much energy it will take you. Versions of this story sound like, I can't read details. I can't be on time. I'm too distractible to get anything done. I can't just go with the flow. I have to be in person. I can't take an online class. These thoughts are not based in the truth of your Colby result. This is just your mind being efficient and trying to preserve your energy. But these types of mental traps can also keep you from reaching your real dreams. The question isn't, can you be responsible for something? But what is the best way for you to be responsible for it? For instance, I used to think that my 2 in follow-through prevented me from being on time, and for part of my life that was true. But as a business owner, that would really hurt my reputation, and I didn't want that. So I used my 2 in follow-through to find hacks on how to be remarkably prompt to appointments. Now I use an automated system that sends me 4 alarms starting the day before and 2 reminder emails for every appointment. I add to that my commitment to being on time, and these days it doesn't take a lot of effort to show up exactly on time. By harnessing my follow-through strength and not using it as an excuse, I'm now able to produce the result I wanted without causing myself a lot of stress. If you find yourself making an excuse based on your Colby, ask yourself how you can use your Colby strength to fulfill your responsibility or achieve your dreams. The third mind trap is you can't put me in a box. I'm not going to lie, this mind trap is near and dear to my heart. I have a rebellious streak, and I hate being labeled or defined. I hate the limitations and stigmas that come with most labels. If you and I share this independent nature, this next section is for you. When I first got my Colby result, I was really upset at having a 3 in FactFinder. I thought that meant I wasn't intelligent, which is not what FactFinder measures. I also disagreed with the result because I'd done well in many jobs that required me to be highly detailed and read a lot of data. I really disliked being put into a box and told what I could and couldn't do. When I was finally willing to look objectively at the numbers and what they really measured, I was able to see how much energy those jobs had taken and how it impacted my work overall. I was fully capable of doing the work, but because it didn't come naturally, it quickly drained my energy and it hurt my potential in other areas. I finally realized that this was a contributing factor to my burnout in those jobs. And with this new information, I was able to adjust my work to align with my strengths. I still value and read detailed research to verify what I teach is accurate. It's just no longer the central aspect of my work. If you hate being put in a box, also know I'm not asking you to take your result on blind faith. Test it out for yourself. But I also invite you to be open minded and give your Colby result a chance, because the power you'll gain by aligning with your strengths is one of the fastest ways to achieve your dreams. And if your result still doesn't resonate with you, that's totally okay. I'm not trying to force it on you. I will say that it might be worth a consultation with me before you throw the whole thing out, but as long as you're giving it a fair shot, that's all I ask. And this brings us to the end of our time today. I hope this information helps you see your natural gifts and how you can use them to make a more holistic and long-lasting career decision. If you do want to go more in depth or you want more help with your Colby A result, I have a few options for you. We've only scratched the surface on what the Colby can empower you to do. One of the most impactful sessions I do with people is called the Colby A Deep Dive. In this session, we build on the basics that you've learned here, and we take your specific Colby result and apply it to your unique situation. I'll go much deeper into the nuances of your numbers and how you can get better results with less effort. You can bring your questions, and I can help you get clarity on any career decisions you're making. It's a great way to weed out career options or double check that you're headed in the right direction before spending thousands of dollars on a degree or moving yourself across the country. And if you're trying to make any kind of big decision regarding work, it can be helpful to have a trained, objective third-party perspective for two reasons. First, sometimes we're just too close to the decision to see it clearly and be objective. And frankly, so are our friends, coworkers, family, and even our partners. Second, because your conative instinct happens at an unconscious level, it can be hard to see yourself in the beginning. Having a Colby professional help you really understand your strengths can help you communicate them effectively to yourself and to others in order to take the best course of action for your future. I'll leave a link to the information about how to schedule an appointment in the transcript, and I'll also send you an email with the link. Now I want to get you set up for the week so you have a clear plan of action. Your main focus for this week is to take the Colby A if you haven't already, and read or listen to your Colby A report. Then, as you have time, do the exercises in this module. I also recommend that you continue reading the quick morning emails to help you integrate what you're learning and do at least 1 minute of the breathing exercise every day. Even slowing down your breath for just 60 seconds a day can make a big difference in your life. You can do it when you're standing in line or commuting to work. You can even have your kids do it with you, anywhere and anytime that it's convenient for you. As always, you can find all of the research and resources I've mentioned today in the transcript that's available for download anywhere you're watching or listening to this. And at the end of this transcript, I also list books, audio recordings, workshops, and other materials available from Colby if you want to go deeper and learn more. Next week, we'll take a look at your learned knowledge and skills. This won't be an ordinary advice session about resume tips, hot college degrees, or how to get job experience. I know that you can Google all of that. We are going to investigate your deeper cognitive strengths. Our focus will have a much broader reach than just the formal education you may have. We'll expand into your informal learned skills and abilities. This is the next set of strengths that we need to uncover to unlock your true career path. And if you're trying to decide if you need to invest in another degree or certification, you won't want to miss this session. As we close, the biggest takeaway I have for you today is that who you are at your core and how you naturally do things is your biggest natural advantage in life. No matter what you've been told before, I promise that you have great talent and I'm here to help you find it. I'll talk to you next time.